I said salute to the untouchable True School Sports empire,
That's
taking
right. The
over
untouchable.
not only the South Florida boxing scene, but the worldwide boxing scene.
Well, it's personal between me and you, and I'm going to do you some serious harm, you big stiff idiot.
The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing games are missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, wanted to talk about this middleweight division right now, and not just the middleweight division, but a historically bad middleweight division. But, you know, we're like roughly, 9 going on 10 days at the time he's shooting this video since Janibek got exposed by Denzel Bentley, right? You know, he had a fight where, all jokes aside, he had a fight where basically he fought Denzel Bentley, who was looked at to be much more superior than, and he struggled mightily and looked very, very pedestrian, you know? And there's a lot to, he's got a lot to prove. Now, Janibek, or whoever that runs his Twitter, took to Twitter to start talking that shit. It's one of the most active Twitter accounts of any fighter in boxing. So here's what Janibek said on Twitter. He said the following, and I quote, "I told you I'm a middleweight nightmare. I am the most avoided boxer. If not, then why did Munguia refuse to fight? To be honest, I am not interested in him. He is a nobody. He is not a champion. I need champions." So, end quote. So, Janibek sounds like a diva right now. He sounds like he's starting to be on some Canelo type shit. Listen, man, I like Janibek, and I've criticized Andrea a lot because of what was done to him with Janibek. But man, this is not the kind of talk I want to hear, because it's first of all, I know for a fact he doesn't mean what he says and says what he means, because he said himself he's not going to fight Gennady Golovkin because Gennady Golovkin is his elder and he has respect for the champion. So, you know, that's 2 belts right there. So basically what he's saying is he only wants to fight Charlo, right? Charlo, and that's it. Charlo's the only guy in the division besides him without a belt. So that's what that really means. Now, does he got a point? Did Munguia duck him to fight for the interim title? Yes, he did. But my thing is this. There's not a whole lot of good, credible fights to make in the middleweight division, and I don't think it's good, and I don't think it's healthy for this really sorry-ass weight class to be, you know, saying that a guy is a nobody when he's the only guy with a legitimate name in the division. I feel like he's got a lot to prove because Munguia is the most protected man in boxing, and Janibek's got a lot to prove because he looked very, very pedestrian in his last fight. And there's other fights in his career. People can point to them and say, Janibek isn't as good as they say. That's just the objective, honest truth. I can't be biased here on True School Sports. Now, funny enough, Carlos Adames saw these quotes from Janibek on Twitter. And he pretty much said to Janibek, "I am a champion. Why are you not interested in me?" Well, because as of right now, just to correct Adames, as of right now, he's not a champion. Now, unless he knows something we don't, maybe Mauricio Suleiman in the WBC have already given him word that Charlo is going to vacate or Charlo's going to get stripped, and maybe they're just going to elevate him to champion because he's the number 1 contender. Maybe he knows that, and maybe that's why he's talking like this. But I do agree with the second part of his statement. Why on God's green earth is Janibek saying that he doesn't want to fight Munguia, that he doesn't want to fight Golovkin, and he hasn't really called out Carlos Adames? I mean, listen, Carlos Adames is one of the most talented fighters in this division. And I said it a couple years ago, like 3 years ago, I said it, you know, back in 2019. Back when Carlos Adames was a top-ranked fighter before he lost to Patrick Teixeira, I felt like when he was fighting the Patrick Days of the world, God rest his soul, and people like that, I genuinely felt like watching him back then that he was the most talented Dominican fighter I had seen. Now, fast forward some years' time, Bob Santos has kind of confirmed what I was saying a couple years ago, and he's kind of saying the same thing. He's the most talented fighter I've ever worked with. And Carlos Adames in his last fight with Fernando or Juan Montiel, he had a statement performance against an ex-Charlo opponent that took him the distance, and he stopped him, I think it was, 3 rounds. So he's a guy that right now, you know, the Montiel performance, the fact that he beat Sergey Derevyanchenko, he's putting together a nice little run of credible wins in the middleweight division. And I know Janibek and Egis Klimas and all parties involved on his team, they want to fight the quote-unquote champions, right? But to me, and I think a lot of people should start pushing for this fight, the fight to make in the middleweight division, because there's not a whole lot of them. Really, there really is not a whole lot of fights to make in the middleweight division. But if there was ever a fight to make in the middleweight division, Janibek, Carlos Adames is that fight. Because there's a lot of people that believe that Carlos Adames could wind up being the best guy of the bunch in this weight class. There's a lot of people that are still on the Janibek train. You know, there's all kinds of things, you know, and you know, I'm not gonna say too much, but I know quite a few people in Vegas, more than one. And I hear things, you know, I don't know what's true and what's not because I wasn't there, and I don't like to go off hearsay, but let's just say that these two have a history in the boxing gym with each other, and it don't favor Janibek. So I would love to see this fight. You know, I would love to see the southpaw style of Janibek, see how he handles the big, strong, brolic frame of Adames with the boxing he's got, the power punching boxing style of Carlos Adames with the versatility he has, with the confidence he's gaining from some of these wins. The only question with Adames is if he can make the weight and he can do it comfortably and he's living that life outside of boxing, he can beat anybody in this division, and I truly believe that. So this is the fight I want to see. Janibek, you know, listen, it's crazy how you can go from being the hunter to the hunted, but he was the hunter not too long ago. He's got a belt, so now he's going to be the hunted. So I want to keep that same energy for Janibek that I kept for Demetrius Andrade. And I'm going to start saying, if you can't get fights, why aren't you calling Carlos Adames? Top Rank, Brad Goodman, Bruce Trampler, all the fine folks that work with the Godfather at Top Rank Incorporated. Make this fight happen because, truthfully speaking, there ain't a whole lot of credible fights out there for Janibek. And if Janibek is who you say he is, he will find a way to get it done against Carlos Adames. And if he's not, he will get found out, and you guys can move on to whoever you have next in the middleweight division, you know? But the reality is, look, Janibek is not going to make you a lot of money. He's not. I don't think he's ever going to be a ticket seller because he's not active enough to become a ticket seller or a big attraction. See, the thing about Janibek, right? A lot of people want to compare Janibek to Golovkin. You can't compare Janibek to Golovkin because the difference is that when Golovkin was fighting, when he was knocking out the Daniel Gills of the world and Marco Antonio Rubio's of the world back in those days, when he was like, you know, in his golden days, Curtis Stevens, he was active, he was fighting, and yes, he didn't fight a murderer's row of fighters, but he made sure that he dealt with them. Like if Golovkin fought a Denzel Bentley caliber of opponent, he would have got dealt with. And because he was beating these guys on such a consistent basis in such a devastating fashion, and HBO and Tom Loeffler kept Golovkin in your face, you had no choice but to pay attention to him, and it drummed up a lot of excitement and a lot of intrigue for him. Janibek hasn't been moved like that, and the only way he's going to get that kind of hype is if he gets moved like that. So Top Rank better get it popping in 2023, because if not, you know, then you gotta buck up and make this damn Carlos Adames fight, or else. So yeah, leave your comments down below. Make sure you guys take the time to subscribe, and like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Dania. So until next time, take care, guys.
Just like Mayweather's uncles would say, a lot of people don't know shit about boxing. You know, you do. You've done it.
Thank you.
You about the only smart guy that I know, bro. Nobody knows shit about boxing.
I appreciate it, man.
I want to say, man, make sure to follow True School Sports, always covering boxing at the highest level, man, and make sure to subscribe to his YouTube channel. Follow him on Instagram at Just a Kid from Dania as well.
He the plug.